right, we are on to our third video lesson. I hope you had a fantastic spring break. I hope you had some fun and got some sleep. But we're back, and I am in Minneapolis right now. At the end of the week, I'll be in Chicago, and I'll see you next Tuesday. But for today, you should be reading parts of Chapter 3 and parts of Chapter 4. You need to go through this lesson, take the short video lesson feedback quiz, and you need to be continuing on the Analytics Fundamentals modules. So we're to the part of the book where we talk about trying to figure out how to keep track of what's going on social media, right? You're a brand, you've got a presence, but you want to keep track of what people are saying about you. You want a way to really kind of um, do some dig in and see what's really working for you as far as the posts you're considering. So one of the things that we do is we listen. We listen to what's going on social media. And there are different tools that you can choose. For those of you that have already taken MK363 um, and worked on your Hootsuite certification, Hootsuite is one of those tools that you can really use for social media listening. But the point is to make sure that you can capture data. Again, how many people retweeted, how many people liked your posts, um, and um, what kind of comments did they make. You want to make sure that you've got a way to weed out all the junk that people want to try to post. Um, my website, the drcarrieq.com website, the only people that should be looking at it are the people in my classes. But that doesn't mean I probably have 10 different spam messages I've got to delete off of there a week. And if they were, if these companies were serious about it, they'd be able to look and see that it's a tiny little website with a tiny little audience because it's really just meant for you guys. But still, I get all that spam, and you'll get the same thing. I mean, if you want to see how bad spam is on social media, go to somebody famous. Um, what's her name? Jenner. Go to somebody's famous Instagram account and scroll through the comments. Easily 50% of them are people saying, like me back, you know, I'll comment on yours if you comment on mine, or people saying things, or clear spam. At least those first couple examples I gave you are real life people running their own real life Instagram accounts. But there's so many others that are like, you know, follow me and I can get you 1,500 more Instagram followers, and that's just pure spam. It is out there, and it's a pain, and it really messes up your metrics because it looks like, oh my God, you've got 1,500 comments, but when it turns out that 900 of them meant nothing, then it's messing up your math. You need to think about the cost in both time and money. You need to think about whether or not the platform, your tool, can be used mobile. You need to worry about API access. Get into that in a second. And you need to think about workflow functionality. So here's a little more detail on those things. When it comes to data capture, one of the things you guys think about is what channels do you want? Which social tools or networks are you using, and do you want to listen to all of them on with the same tool? Um, for me, the Hootsuite dashboard works great for Facebook and Twitter and works okay for Instagram. There is a thing for LinkedIn, but it's not very useful for me. So in that case, if LinkedIn was really critical to my brand presence, then Hootsuite wouldn't be the best tool. But if my main focus was on Facebook and Twitter, then it would be fantastic. The other thing you want to know is, will it show me full text, or will it only show me little content snippets? At this stage, if you're really looking to listen and respond in real time, you have to have something that's full text. If you're only listening to kind of get an overview of what happened in the last quarter, then snippets are enough. And then you want to think about the categorizations of your mentions. So, for instance, you want to think about Are these mentions positive? Are they um, are they things that, are these people complaining about something that we can fix versus something we can't fix? And so it's that one's super complicated, and there's probably not a single tool that really works really well. With spam, what you want to think about with the tool is, will the spam filters learn as you go along? So if you increasingly, if there's a type of comment you increasingly mark as spam, will the filter start just immediately weeding those out so you don't ever see them? And then also you have to think about how rigorous is the spam filter right out of the box. Um, at the AMA conference a couple weeks ago, we heard a really funny story about a brand who chose a new name for their company. And the company had the word specialized in it. The name has the word specialized in it, but they changed the spelling of it for their UK customers because the British way is to spell it. Specialized would have ISE in the end instead of IZE, which is the American English way to do it. So when, for instance, so let's say the brand is called Specialized Motors Incorporated. When you spell specialized with an S at the end instead of a Z, it includes the brand name Cialis. And there's a ton of spam that's related to trying to sell you generic versions of drugs that are meant to enlarge body parts, like Cialis. And so they sent out all of these email notifications, this specialized company did. They sent out all these email notifications about the name change, and they got themselves banned from servers everywhere because everybody assumed they were spam. So one of the things you've got to look at again is how rigorous it is and what you're blocking out immediately from the get-go. Cost. One of the things you really got to look at is, and this really depends on how big your company is, but some of the things that are free for a reason, meaning they're really time intensive to set up, or they're so limited in what they can do that you spend so much time doing the things they can't do that your employee labor costs are so high, it's really not been free for you at all. And what you really want is something that'll scale to fit your business. So maybe you can pay for it, but you are only going to have 3 accounts, and so you can pay a little bit instead of needing to pay as if you were a huge, large company like somebody like State Farm. You also want a tool that has mobile capability because people don't stop commenting on your brand just because you closed your store. So if you're serious about social, you need to be willing to respond to people, after hours. And you should have a team that's ready to respond after hours. And that's a whole lot easier to do if they can access via mobile. Okay, so API is the reason that Instagram doesn't work very well with Hootsuite. And that is something that Facebook has intentionally done. But again, API stands for Application Programming Interface. And what you're worried about is the API access. So again, it's Application Programming Interface Access. So does your tool, for instance, does Hootsuite, does it interact well with the platform that you're trying to measure? And again, Facebook and Twitter have pretty good APIs. They understand that people are going to use these tools, but Facebook has intentionally designed Instagram's API so it doesn't play well. But you need to know how well do these things work together. Workflow functionality here, if you've got a big team, I think there are something like 7 interns who work for the Field Museum, or the Natural History Museum, I'm sorry, that do the account for Sue the T-Rex. And so they've got to be able to share that. A company as big as Disney that uses Hootsuite for its social media listings, when comments come in, they need to be able to assign different comments and stories and different networks, social media networks, to different people. And you need to keep track of those assignments and see if people have actually fulfilled them. And obviously, if you've got a big company and you've got lots of people that are doing social media for you, you prefer to have one or two people that are determining which teams have access to which accounts, and you want to be able to cut that access off in case something happens. Now, how is social listening different from media monitoring? Well, first think about if I told you I was monitoring you versus if I told you I was listening to you, think about how your different response to that is. I mean, monitoring is just kind of like observing, maybe taking some notes. Listening implies that I'm actually paying attention to, it's kind of a focused way to pay attention, that I might talk back to you or speak with you. We might actually have dialogue, um, but it's not quite so clinical. And social media listening allows for evangelism, this idea that you can find your people who go out and really love your brand and tell everybody else about it and brag about it. And you can see that you can also find the people who seem to be leaders in a certain industry and kind of direct people to different continents and to different resources. They're the ones that are leading a topic or an area, or the people focused on that topic and area. They're leading the conversation on it. And social media listening allows you to find those leaders and engage them. Social listening obviously adds some usability that monitoring didn't. And then the other thing, of course, is aggregated data. It really allows you to compile, months worth of data for all of your users and, start to look for trends. So what does social media listening add that monitoring didn't provide before? Well, one of the things with online is now we know location of conversations. We can tell if people are talking about us in different regions of the country. We can tell, yeah, that's enough on that. Sentiment we've talked about before, this idea that it allows you to see, are people angry? Are they scared? Are they worried? Are they happy? Um, and so that's really, that really adds some qualitative depth to our listening that was not available to us when we were simply monitoring. What else does social add? Social also adds key message penetration. So this is about the resonance piece. We've talked about message resonance before. This is really allowing you to say, hey, there are key stakeholders. There are those thought leaders or those evangelists that I mentioned on the last slide. How did the message resonate with them? What did they have to say about that? And you can really see this in political discussions, and when you see that there are certain, political reporters or political bloggers who have a lot of followers, and you can see how a message might resonate with people. Quite honestly, people think that, there are a couple of, they're starting to track when our current president makes a comment about a topic, like they're tracking how long it takes for him to comment on something after it shows up on certain cable news channels or after it shows up on certain websites. And so at that point, they're saying, they're basically saying that that message clearly resonated with that person who happens to just, have a ginormous Twitter following. And then key influencers, again, these are those people like those thought leaders and those evangelists. So again, you're able to identify them. Now you're able to see what are they talking about, how often are they talking about, are they talking about us positively? Are they directing people toward our resources? We can really keep track of those things. Okay, that's more than enough on chapters 3 and 4. So your next step, of course, is to take the video lesson feedback 3. Make sure that you're doing your digital analytics fundamentals modules, and have a lovely Tuesday.